you reflect. If you reflect, you build a relationship with yourself. And when you build a relationship with yourself, you become a better person. I think the most memorable one is of shoplifting. So people take books and we have no cameras, we have no security, we don't bother about it. We said, okay.
Hello everyone, warmly welcome back to Dehradun His Academy podcast, and I'm your host Punnapatt with Parineeta.
And today we are here with Mr. Sandeep Dutt on the occasion of World Book Day, and let's get into the conversation. Grab your books and a warm cup of coffee and let's get started.
So, sir, may we know some introduction about yourself, how your journey and how was your story behind?
Yeah, I just like to read for a living. That's all.
Yes, sir.
My introduction is reading for a living.
So, what inspired you to open a bookstore, and how do you manage?
No, I didn't open a bookstore. I was born in a bookstore.
You were born in a bookstore. So, how did the English book people exactly start? What was the motive or the purpose?
See, this is very interesting because if you go back over 100 years, who would imagine that in rural India you would need a bookstore? So 100 years back, there's a small township on India-Pakistan border. It's a place called Firozpur. So my grandfather, who was an apprentice at a bookstore in Lahore, he decided to venture out on his own and actually put up a bookstore.
So it has been
That's where the story started.
Generation by
So he came to Firozpur in 1923 and he said, okay, I will sell the English books in English and I'll call my bookshop the English Book Depot. That's how the story started.
So it has been running around since then?
Yes, absolutely. So we are now, I would like to call it 4 generations strong because my grandfather set it up. Then my father and his brothers were here for many years. My mother took over from my father. Now it's almost 51 years. He's been here since 71. And I joined in 1983. So you can't ask me how I didn't make the bookshop. I just happened to be here.
That is very interesting, being born in a bookstore and having books around you for reading and all that. That's very interesting. Even I wish I could do that someday. But that is very interesting and I wish I had that.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
But take it as your own, and I would love to see you here more often to read. See, the whole place is created with that atmosphere of a feeling that you would like to read when you come here. And a lot of young people do come here who ask us, please initiate us to reading. And that's the whole idea of calling ourselves a book cafe, where we serve books instead of selling books. That's the only difference.
As your opinion, what is the importance of reading books?
Very simple. If you read, you reflect. If you reflect, you build a relationship with yourself.
Yes, sir.
And when you build a relationship with yourself, you become a better person. Because the basic core is understanding yourself. And that only happens when you reflect. You talk today of things like critical thinking, compassion, care. Will only come when you reflect. And when you become a part and parcel of what you're reading, it transforms you metaphysically into a different world altogether. And that's how you change your perspective to life.
So, were you always interested in reading books, or did it develop being around books in an environment like this? Or were you childhood say you were yeah, I have to read books, I love reading books? Or was it
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
No, you used a very good word, environment.
Yes.
Because I think that's what matters the most. If you're born from year 0 to year 03 approximately, those are the 3 formative years of a child for any human being. And it's the environment that nurtures you. Remember this. So if in those early years you will see books around, which means you will get a feeling that the books have value to the people whom you are born in or whom you are living with. Then obviously it will become an important part of your life. If I see a home which is unfortunate, most of our homes don't have books. They will have every gadgetry, they will have so many comforts, but they won't have a bookshelf.
Yeah.
And I give you a very interesting story. This is Singapore's 60th year. And the government has decided every child born this year will get a gift.
What kind of gift?
A hamper, full hamper. for the child to be born, and in that they actually added a bookshelf with books from 0 to 5. So you see the importance from that classic example.
So they taken action on it.
Like
Yes.
they have taken action on it, like
Yeah,
in this.
see, they're helping you create that nurturing environment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essential to nurture.
Mm.
You can never learn anything by teaching, remember that. It's nurturing. It has to be osmotically absorbed into you.
Mm.
So whether it is your love for cooking or your love for singing, yes, it is actually created by what's happening around you. If you don't see a book, how are you going to become book friend?
Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. So, like, could you share one of your experiences here, like one of the most funniest or like memorable experiences you've had with a customer since this store has been running around for generations to generations? Like anyone
Absolutely.
experience.
I think the most memorable one is of shoplifting. So people take books and we have no cameras, we have no security, we don't bother about it. We said, okay,
Like,
it's
it's okay, they
it's a
can
gift
read.
of knowledge. It really doesn't matter, honestly. So
Right.
the story goes back that there was a young schoolboy from the school
Mm.
who perhaps had picked up too many comics in his life. And when he grew up and he had to absorb that guilt of him. So one fine day about 30 years back, 35 years back when my father was alive, he got a surprise bank draft of 1400 rupees.
Oh my god.
So, and 1400 rupees in mid 80s was sizable sum of money when comics were just 10 odd rupees.
Mm.
And a school teacher of that school where the boy studied carried it to us. So look at the values in this:
Mm.
the honesty, the integrity,
Yes.
and the joy. The master was also very happy. The master proudly came and said, "This is the value system our school teaches."
Mm.
So this story has a phenomenal meaning in today's date.
Mm.
No one in this case was hauled up for any wrongdoing. Everyone gained.
Mm.
Our patience and our belief that everyone is true to themselves, everyone reflects inwardly one day, like I started, that only when you reflect will you become a better person. So he reflected in his life. That's growing up, that's where your mind, consciousness, and thought help you become a better person.
Your favorite author, if you have.
Your favorite book or like any book that you would like to recommend
Yeah.
to the audience.
Recommend to us.
First,
Yeah.
every book is my favorite.
Every book.
Absolutely. And every author is my loved guide. Now, if a book is written by someone, there is passion behind it.
Mm.
And everyone who gives birth to a book, I've used the word birth,
Mm.
will definitely feel that this is my treasured child.
Mm.
So if you create your writing and content with that kind of passion, and for every book, every author, every writer, there is a reader in the world. So there is no question of favorite book or favorite author. It's an abstraction. It's a way of simply saying, okay, I favor so and so for whatever reason.
Mm.
But yes, as of now, what I'm reading is more of non-fiction.
Mm.
And recently, I read a book the third time. It's called Toto Chan. Find it. It's about little girl's love for books and how a girl in Japan decided to read because a school created an environment of reading. So it's a very nice book. You can read it. I can name you 100 books. I would read one a week, honestly. Even now, I'm reading that much. So
So I've heard that you're an author and an educator as well. So like, do you write non-fiction or fiction? Like, what kind of books do you write?
see, I write something which is real life.
Real.
So the stories which we tell make us.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard for us to segregate any book to fiction and non-fiction.
Mm.
It's not fair because no book will ever be 100% facts or 100% fiction.
Yeah.
So when we write, I may not write a thriller or I may not write a detective novel to become a Sherlock Holmes. But definitely when I write, I do think of the feeling and empathy which was there when I was visualizing something, when I'm seeing a real life experience, and how I transport that to my reader. So that's the way it's really, if you ask me, what we write today and what majority people write today is something which connects with life. And sometimes fiction transports you into a different world altogether. But today, as reality shows are happening, similarly in books, a lot of reality has to be portrayed. Now, when you portray reality, you may want to call it non-fiction, but it's actually fact and fiction combined.
I've heard like the since the generation is growing and the value of books is decreasing because of the introduction of digital media and like gadgets and all around us, the books that children read used to read are not available like as much as to them as it used to be in today's times. So like what do you think of this? Like what should happen? Like what changes would you like to see like in today's
I
time?
don't think you have your facts right. There are three important things which have happened in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
One, the quality of books and production has gone up phenomenally.
But
Second, books are very affordable. And third, books are selling in far larger numbers than I've ever seen in my life.
mm-hmm.
So when you talk about children not reading, well, I just said earlier in the day, it's the fault of the parents. It's the fault of the teachers. I don't see teachers reading in your school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see your principal reading. I don't see your parents reading. So why don't you first question that? Then you ask me that you don't see a child reading. Because the child will only reflect the society. So as far as we are concerned, our business, our work is increasing. Simply because today you cannot sell a book, but you have to give an experience. So whatever you see today from marketing perspective or from experience perspective, that makes a lot of difference. So at our end, our goal is always to give you an experience and not sell a book as far as the bookshop is concerned. Now from the children's side of it, you'll be surprised. The children books contribute to almost 60% of our book sales.
Okay.
It's important for us to take a pause. So often we say go slow, and that's what books do. Books slow you down. There's science behind it. When you read books, your heart rate also goes down. It's akin to meditation.